So I'm going to install this kit on my Honda ATV that I just picked up. It's a 2004, it's an older one, but the winch didn't have a Fairlead. This is a Fairlead here. I'll pull one out so you can have a look at it, and a few other hardware items. Canadian Tire sells this kit with a mounting bracket. Mounting bracket I don't need, but it's got a nice rolling block and a D-ring, and it's got the Fairlead. Alright, so what do we have in the box? We have the rolling block and the D-ring. These are heavy duty. They're galvanized. That will be handy if I ever need my winch. There's mounting hardware, and I wasn't sure if there was, so I actually picked some extra bolts up, but anyway, that's wonderful. And then there's the Fairlead right here. So basically, it's basically 4 wheels. 1, 2, 3, 4 for you novices like myself, and it just keeps the winch line running and running smoothly. The mounting holes are universal. We'll line those up with the ATV, but I think all I have to do is take the bumper off, and then it's just a matter of getting the winch back into the ATV. Here's my winch, and as you can see, it's not in the ATV, and the winch line is all through my basement. So after pulling this out, I had to put some penetrating oil into these 2 bolts here. I don't know if you can see the bottom one well. Waited a little bit. I took a hex key and a pry bar and got them loose. Was able to pull this unit apart, get everything untangled, and now it's time for the reinstall. Since I work outside a lot, what I like to do is I like to take advantage of a couple of buckets that I have, and when I'm doing a job, I just like to pick out the tools that I need, and I use a bucket to carry them. So I've got the 13mm wrench, a 14mm crescent wrench, the ratchets, bolts, nuts and bolts that I need, and if I carry it in here, it's just a whole lot easier to move things around, and if I take everything out, I can flip upside down and use it as a seat as well. The 2 holes on the ATV correspond with the ones on the Fairlead, so that must be a pretty universal spacing. Anyway, I've got to remove the plastic bumper, and that should just bolt right on nicely. And if you're interested, right up in here, the flat metal surface, it's reflecting glare. That flat metal surface there is where the winch actually goes. There's 2 bolts that are rather difficult to get at to tighten it on. Fortunately, that's where a wife that's handy with tools and has small hands really comes in handy. You can make a job easy or you can make a job hard. So what I've done is I've driven the ATV up on some ramps. So it's about 8 inches higher to work on, and it's already elevated a few inches off the ground anyway. So that's just going to make so much easier actually working on this thing. So the first step I need to do is take the bumper off, and that's a hex key. Here's how I transported my winch in the loose wire. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually rest the winch onto its resting place right back here, and then run the wire or run the cable through the slot. And as you can see, the holes line up perfectly, even though there's a little bend to it. So I had to do a little bit of looking, and it appears that the larger roller goes on the bottom and the smaller one on top, which would correlate with the writing on the labeling, but the labeling didn't indicate which way to put it. So I can't tell if you can see what I'm doing here, but basically I'm just stretching the cable out as far as I can and seeing if I can get some tension on it. So as you can see, I was able to get a good stretch on the cable, and that bolt is one of the 2 bolts that are required for installing the winch on the winch plate. That one was easy to do. The one behind it, not so easy. Alright, so I am trying to get the hook and the cable through the Fairlead here, and it is the right size. It's just the rivet sticking out a little bit. So I am going to do what every good mechanic does. I am going to hit it with a hammer. Well, a soft-faced hammer. Alright, so the configuration I'm going to use is I'm going to use the bolt, the washer, the Fairlead, and the bracket, and on the other side there'll be a washer, a locking washer, and another bolt. I had to go with the longer bolt because with all the connections it just wasn't long enough using the shorter one. A little light there. So there's the Fairlead installed. Next thing we have to do is rewire the winch, which we'll get to in a minute. We're going to see if the bumper fits. And the bumper does fit. Alright, connecting the red lead is going to be fairly straightforward. And I'm just going to point out to the black lead here. It's right up against the light casing here. Now I might have to take the light casing off in order to get that bolt off. I should have did that before I installed the winch, but I never even thought of it. It's just the clearances are so tight under here. And so we're just going to reconnect that one. So we may have to take this piece off, which does disconnect. That's how you get the light bulbs in. And from there, it will be wired. There you go. Perfect. Keep going. And as you can see, the winch is rolling itself on to the spool nicely. Alright, so now I am going to put the pulley on, and I'm just going to take the bolts off of here. Disconnect it to the wire before the main hook, and then we're all completed. Alright, so there's the completed installation. We've got the main hook for the winch, a secondary one on the pulley, and then we have a D-ring here. Well, I'll take that one off because it's just dangling in the way, and keep that in a bag or under the seat.